Hello guys, welcome to the Salesforce development training, Road to Become a Salesforce Developer. Please make sure your audio settings is proper and also you're able to hear me. If you are having difficulties hearing me, please send me a message. I will request you to mute yourself so that I can go ahead and finish the training first, and then you can ask your questions through the chat box and I'll try to reply it over there. So first of all, I would like to say thank you so much for joining this Salesforce development training. We will start by a little introduction about myself. I'm a Salesforce developer. I have worked with big companies like Bank of America, USA, Home Depot, IBM. My passion is to teach. I love teaching. I enjoy whenever I teach. I can even teach for free. So that's why I'm conducting this training. I have no expectations from anybody here. I'm just love. So I wanted to share my knowledge with you guys. I have taught around 60,000 students, and most of them from India. Some of them are from US as well, and through different online platforms. And I have about 13,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm trying to increase my subscribers through doing these kind of free trainings so that people can understand my teaching style, and I wanted to present myself to them. Now, what is this training about? What are we going to discuss in this training? So, a lot of times I've heard that people are literally scared to code. They have a fear of coding, even if they think that you need to be studying programming in the college years in order to become a Salesforce developer. That's completely wrong. It's not true at all. Anybody can be a programmer. If you have the gist and if you have the dedication, you can become a programmer in very simple, I would say, month or so. But programming comes more with practice. So more you practice on your programming skills, you will get better at it. You do not need any kind of experience, or you don't have to work in IT in order to learn programming. That's a myth. Everybody thinks coding is difficult, but that's completely wrong. It's very interesting if you make it interesting. So in this training that I'm going to have, I will try to make things very interesting and try to explain things in a very simple manner. So for some of you, it might be too easy. For some of you, you might feel it's just the basics. But I believe when you have covered the basics, you can learn any other programming language besides Java or .NET if your base is strong. Once you have learned one programming language, it's easy to switch from one to the other. I came from a Java background and then I switched to Salesforce, and it was very easy switch. But I haven't learned Java in my college years. I learned on my own. I had always had an interest in coding. So if you are just like me, I will recommend you to go ahead and start your career as Salesforce developer. There are a lot of demands out there. People are making a lot of money as a Salesforce consultant. And in this training, we'll talk a little bit about what Apex programming is. So first, starting about what is Apex and all that, we're going to see what is a programming language. A programming language is nothing but it's a language to communicate with the computers. In order to communicate with the computers, we have created these high-level languages, and Salesforce also uses a language called Apex. So it's nothing but it's a programming language. It is a language to give instructions to the computer to perform something. That is what a programming language is. So in order to communicate with other human beings, you using language like English, Chinese, Hindi, etc. Similarly, in order to talk to computer, you have different ways. You can talk to him in Java language. You can talk to him in .NET language. You can talk to him in Apex language. So Apex is nothing but it's a programming language which is used by Salesforce developers. Now, what is Apex? Apex is a programming language, as I said. It's used by Salesforce developers. And when you should use this language? So Salesforce has two parts. One is point and click application development, as you already know. And there's another part of a Salesforce where things cannot be achieved using the out-of-the-box functionalities. So at that particular moment, you need to write some code in order to perform some complex business logics. Okay, when things cannot be done using workflows or process builders, at that point in time, you need to write code. So you don't have to write code all the time. You have to write code whenever it's a necessity. And according to Salesforce, you should not write code for those things which can be easily done using out-of-the-box functionalities like workflows. Then we have as process builders, visual workflows, etc. So what is Apex? Apex is a programming language which is used by Salesforce people. Now, what are the different features? What kind of stuff is available in Apex? Okay, so Apex has a lot of inbuilt good things. Okay, it's very, very easy to learn Apex programming. Apex is very simple and it's very self-explanatory. So you do not have to be big brainiac to understand Apex. It's very simple. And because Apex comes with a lot of inbuilt functionalities, so you do not have to invent something brand new. First of all, one of the features of Apex, it's integrated. It has built-in support for DML operations. Now, what do you mean by these DML operations? DML operation is called as data manipulation language. Now, you can insert data, you can update data, you can delete data. That is what called as data manipulation. Means a language to manipulate the data. So in Salesforce, you can go ahead and add new records, right? But that you can do through the out-of-the-box functionality. But if you wanted to go ahead and do it through the code, you can do that using these DML operations. And what these DML operations are, don't worry about it. The next feature is it is very similar to Java. So if you're coming from Java background, you will find it very easier to learn Apex. But don't worry, if you are coming from non-IT background also, you will be able to learn Apex very quickly. It's a strongly typed language. We'll discuss this later. And then it's easily to test. Apex has its own testing framework. So you have to always write test classes whenever you have to deploy your code in production. You cannot deploy any code in production. Production, by meaning of production, means you cannot go live. You cannot go live to the audience, to the public, until or unless you have a 75% code coverage. So you have to make sure every code that you have written is properly tested so that it does not blow up. And Salesforce makes sure you do that. So Salesforce has its own testing framework through which you basically write test classes for every Apex class or Apex triggers that you have written. Next thing is it upgrades automatically. So Salesforce upgrades itself automatically every couple of months. And you do not have to do anything. Salesforce will do everything for you. So these are the features of the Apex programming language. So we have just covered the overview. So now the next thing we're going to do is we'll first set up a developer's account in Salesforce. It's a free account, is available for you to practice purposes, okay? So in order to create a developer's account, you're going to go ahead and go to Google and type in developer.salesforce.com. This is the link, developer.salesforce.com. And then you're going to go ahead and click on this sign up button in order to sign you up. Here, I'm going to go ahead and provide my details. And then I'm going to go ahead and give a username and I'll say Deepika developer at training.com. Okay, so this is going to be my username. Please make sure to copy this username and save it somewhere. And then I'm going to click on this. By registering, you're going to go ahead and confirm. So you have to fill up all this information. In the role section, you can type in developer, and company, you can have any company. It doesn't have to have a company name. You can just give some random company name like HHH or whatever it is. Role, you can pick any role, does not matter either. And then hit the sign me up button. So what will happen is it will send an email to your email address that you have given, info@my. So I'm going to go ahead and open my email account. And inside of this email account, I should be getting an email from Salesforce to verify my account. So as you can see, it says welcome this is the email address. And then there is a link to verify your account, and this is the username. Now, when you click on this verify account, it will ask you to set up your password. So go ahead and click on that verify and then go ahead and set up the password as well. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my password. You go ahead and set up your password. But make sure you remember it, okay? And then these are the security question. If you, whatever the security question you want to pick up, you can do it. And I'll pick one what I like. And then change password. So this is the way to log in into Salesforce. Now Salesforce has two versions, if you remember. One is called as the Classic and the other one is called the Lightning. Okay, we will be using the Lightning version here. So I don't want to because Classic is the older version. You should get yourself familiar with the newer version, which is basically the Lightning version. This is called the Lightning UI. So now, where are we going to go ahead and program? We are not discussing the out-of-the-box feature. So if you are a Salesforce admin, this is the class for you. But if you do not know Salesforce out-of-the-box features, then you need to first learn those features. What are the out-of-the-box functionality? What is an object? What are leads? What are opportunity? And then you should come to the development side of it. The first thing is we'll go to developer console. This is how you go. You go to this gear icon on the right hand side and then click this developer console. So Salesforce automatically gives you a place where you can write the code. You do not need any kind of IDE, which is basically like if you are coming from Java background, you have Eclipse and Notepad or different kinds of IDEs are there, Visual Studio, all that IDEs are there. Here, you do not have to download any of that. Salesforce gives you this force.com platform where you can write your code, you can test everything, all that is inbuilt. So you don't have to worry about installing anything on your computer. So this is the place. This is a developer console that you have to use. So I'll tell you one more time, click on this gear icon and from this gear icon, go to this developer console. Now here in this developer console, this is the way. When you have to create a new class, you have to go to File, New, Apex Class. If you want to create a trigger, Visual Force page, Lightning application. So this is the way to go ahead and create all that. Then there's a window where you can you can execute some anonymous code, okay, without creating any classes or anything. If you want to use to test something small, then you can do it. But usually in real time, we create Apex classes, Lightning project, etc. all that. But just for the purpose, we will be using this anonymous window to execute some simple things. Okay. Then at the bottom here, you can check logs. Logs are nothing, but it will tell you what is happening inside of your code. Then if you have some test classes, you can go ahead and run those tests and you can understand what is if the test has been passed or if the test failed, that information will be given to you here. Then this is a query editor. Query editor, you can write a simple query and you can get the results. So for example, I'm going to write select ID, name from accounts. So this is a simple query I'm doing. It's called an SOQL query. If you do not know what SOQL query is, do not worry about it. This is just a simple thing. This is a query editor. So you can run your query here from account. It's account. So you go ahead and hit the execute button. And this is the output will be shown over here. So it will give you the ID and it will give you the name of all the accounts which Salesforce has. So this is a query editor. When you're writing a program, okay, when you're writing something and if a problem occurs, if you did something wrong, in that case, what will happen is you will show your problems over here. So for example, if I created an Apex class and gave a name it as test, enter a name for the class, I'm going to say test class. And then it will create a test class for me. Now, if I have just written something wrong, and if I try to save it, you can see here, there's an asterisk sign means this class has not been saved. Make sure this asterisk sign, always remember to save the class. Now, when I try to save the class, I'm getting an error here. You can see here, and it tells you, hey, there's an extra semicolon. Okay, there's something wrong. So it gives me this exclamation red mark saying there's a problem. And the moment you remove this problem and then try to save it, it'll automatically be saved. And the problem section will also get removed because there is no problem. So let's say if I'm typing something else here, and then if I try, and there's an asterisk sign, means the class has not been saved yet. But moment you try to hit the save button, the error appears again. And then what you do is you get rid of the error and then you try to save it. This time, you will be able to save it, and that asterisk sign that is next to your class will be removed. So problems are very helpful because it will also tell you what line number the error is at, what kind of error it is. So this is where you can check your problems, and always make sure your class is saved. If the asterisk sign is shown next to your class, that means your class is not saved. So either you can go ahead and click File Save, or you can just do Control S and it will save your class. A lot of times in my previous classes, students always say, hey, my code is not working because they forgot to save it. So you have to make sure that asterisk sign is not there, and then you run your class. Now, if you write some anonymous code, you can execute it. We are going to go ahead and do some examples using this window. Just an overview of what a developer console is. If you want to test new classes, you can go ahead and always try to run the test classes through here. So this is the way to run your test classes, and you can provide which classes you want to run it. So this is how you run your test classes. This is just a workspace if you want to use a different workspace and things like that. So this is an overview of your developer console. So if you want to create a new class or a new trigger, you use this. If you want to run a query, just a simple query, you check your query here. If you wanted to see what kind of logs, how the things happen, then you can check on the logs here. Problem section will give you what is wrong with your class or trigger, etc. Basically, the syntax errors will be shown here. Now, going back here, we have created our developer's account. Now, the first thing, just like we learn any kind of program, any kind of language, even if you learn English, you start with the alphabets, A, B, C, D, right? So the alphabets of a programming language is, I would say, is a variable. Okay, so we'll start with a variable. First thing we should know before we do anything else is what is a variable. Variables are used to store information. They are used to store information. For example, if you want to calculate somebody's age, you need to store their birth date, right? So variable is used to store something. Now think of computer, right? Computer has some memory. Computer has some hard disk or RAM or whatever. Computer has memories, and in that memory it stores information. So, and this computer memory, let's say, is divided into boxes. So let's say I asked you to calculate sum of two numbers. Let's say the numbers are 7 and the next number is, let's say, 8. 7 and plus 8, I asked you. So you need a place to store the number 7. So what we will do is, in our computer memory, we'll store the number 7. But I wanted to make sure the number 7 is stored in this memory location. So I'll give a name to this memory location. I'll say number 1. Okay, this is my memory location. And then I'm storing that number in that memory location. So I'm naming that memory location as num1. Similarly, I'll store the number 2. Okay, there's a number 2 I'll store in this memory location, and I will name this memory location as what I call it as number 2. So that is what a variable is. So num1 has what? Num1 is equals to 7 and num2 is equals to 8. This is very similar to maths problem, if you remember. So in maths also we had this algebraic expression. So that is what a variable is. A variable is something which is used to store information. And why is it called a variable? Because you can change the value. Today you're storing number 1 is having value 7. Tomorrow I can go ahead and store number 17 in that. There's no problem. There's nothing wrong with it because you can change the value inside of that variable. So variable is used to store information. That's it. So here in the example form, what you can see here, I'm storing my first name. First name has the value of Deepika. Okay, so in the computer memory, somewhere Deepika is stored, and that particular memory location, okay, I have named it as first name. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I've named it as first name. So this is the variable name. First name is nothing but the variable name, and variable value is Deepika. In the second example, last name is the variable name and Khanna is the variable value. Similarly, num1 is nothing but it's the variable name of that variable, and 20 is the value for that variable. So this is what a variable is. A variable is used to store some kind of information. Crystal clear on these things? Let me know if you have any questions. I will address all your queries in the chat box, okay? So that there's no disturbance going on. So I'll respond to your queries. Now the next thing we have, so variable can store any kind of information. Okay, it can store a number, it can store somebody's name, it can store a large number, it can store somebody's age, it can store decimal numbers. Anything can be stored inside of a variable. Just like you have, this is a decimal number, this is a decimal number, this is somebody's just storing hello in it. This is a number, this is a name or whatever. Okay, this is a large number. So you can store anything inside of a variable, and you will need the variables in order to store information. In order to store information, okay, that is when you need variable. Whenever you're dealing with data, then you need variables. And every variable will have a name and it will have some value. And if you do not provide the value for that variable, automatically Salesforce will provide a value which is called as null. So if you do not provide any value to a variable, by default, Salesforce will give you a value as null value. The next thing we have is declaring a variable. So whenever you are using variables in your program, you have to declare them. Okay, before you use variable in Apex or in any programming languages, you have to declare the variable. Now, what do you mean by declaring the variable? Okay, what is the meaning of declaring a variable? Declaring a variable means you're telling what type of the variable it is, and you also need to provide the name for the variable and also some value for the variable. These are the things. Declaring a variable means you tell what type of the variable it is, what is the name of the variable, and also optionally you can provide a value for it. As you can see here, type means what kind of data it is going to store. Data can be anything. Data can be a number, as I told you, 100. Data can be somebody's name, Deepika, okay, that is somebody's name. Data can be a large number like 1 million. Data can be a large number. It can store a larger test, or it can have multiple values, okay, like collection of student names, etc. So that's, where are you going to store? You need a variable to store all that information. So a variable will have a type. So you have to tell what type of data are you going to store. If you are telling the type is integer, means you are going to store number values in that variable. So this is nothing but this is the data type. This is the type of the data. This is the name of the variable. And then this is the value for the variable. So this is called as variable declaration. Every variable in Apex must have a name and its data type. What is the type of the data means? What kind of data are you going to store? And there are different kinds of data. You store collections, means multiple elements. You store somebody's name, you store somebody's age, you store somebody's birthday, you store somebody's appointment date, appointment time, right? You store somebody's number, phone number, etc., email addresses. There are different kinds of data that you deal with it. So data types means what type of data the variable is going to store. So anytime you have to use a variable, you have to declare the variable. Now declaring the variable means you tell the type of the variable, you tell the name of the variable, but optionally, this is optional. This side is optional. You do not have to specify the value for the variable right away. But if you do not specify at all, automatically the value will be null. Value will be null. So let's go ahead and delete all that. Now the next thing is data types that are available in Apex. There are different kinds of data types which are available in Apex. You have primitive data types, you have collections, you have S objects, enums, classes, objects, and interfaces. So these are the different data types that are available in Apex. In this particular training, we are just going to give you a glimpse of simple data types that we have, which is the primitives ones, and then we'll talk more about it later. So Apex supports the data types like integer, as the name indicates. If you wanted to store a number value without a decimal, then you're going to go ahead and use integer data type. If you wanted to store a decimal value, okay, decimal means a value which has a decimal number like 80.76. This is a decimal number. So if you have to store a decimal number, then you're going to use the data type as double. if you want to store large numbers without a decimal point, okay, large numbers like 1 million or 1 billion, these numbers, then in that case you're going to use long data type. Then if you want to store date value, okay, what day you were born, okay, something like that. If you want to go ahead and store date. If you want to store time, then you have a time as also a data type. Date time, it stores date as well as time. If you want to store somebody's name, somebody's email address, somebody's company name, etc., then you use a data type called string. ID, when you want to store the ID of a record. Boolean means this can only have two values, either true or false or null. So these are the primitive data types that are available in Apex. You might feel like I'm rushing, but do not worry. We're going to go ahead and do some example now. So first thing is, let's go ahead and get our hands dirty. So one thing I want to do is, string is used to store somebody's name. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my developer console here. And I'm going to say string. What I'm doing is I'm going to declare the variables. Okay. So right now we're understanding what do you mean by variable. Variable is nothing but it is used to store information. Okay. It is used to store information in computer. And then we need variables in order to store information. And variables, when you have to use it, you have to declare them. Okay. You have to declare the variables, and declaring the variable means defining the type of the variable and the name of the variable and optionally telling the value for the variable. So here I can say string first name is equals to Deepika. So string always will be in quotes. Okay. A string value has to be in quotes. This is what a string is. You have to use quotes around that. Anytime you're declaring a string data type or anytime you're declaring a string variable, you have to tell, the value has to be in single quotes. That makes it as a string. Even if the value is 100. This is a string data type because it's in 100. This is a string. It's not a number. If you want to make it a number, you have to use integer. This is the difference. Okay. This is a string. These two are string values. And this is a integer value. Anything that you write inside of single quotes makes it as a string. And then let's say we declared another variable called integer num3, and we have not provided any value. So if you do not provide the value, automatically the value becomes null for that particular variable. Salesforce will not do anything or will not complain, but what will happen is automatically the variable will get a value of null. Now let's go ahead and write some debug statement. Debug statements means let's display something on the screen. Right now what we have done is we have in our computer's memory, this is what is happening. So this is computer memory, let's say, and it is divided into blocks. Imagine that. And what we have done is we have stored Deepika somewhere. Okay. And name of this box is let's call first name. Then we stored this 100 somewhere. Then we have stored this 100, another 100 as a number somewhere. And then this is what we have stored. We have stored these three values. And the box name for this, the variable name is first name. This is called as num1. This is called as num2. Okay, this is what we have done. So we have created three different variables with values, but we have another variable we defined. There's a box, but it's empty. Okay, this is empty. So automatically it will have a value of null, and this is called as num3. This is a variable and the value of the variable is null. So now let's go ahead and display something on the screen. So what I'm going to do is, if you're from Java background, you should know there's a system.out.println. So similarly, in Apex, we have system.debug. Okay, this is what we have. System.debug means if you wanted to display something on the screen, so you use this and then you say, we're going to go ahead and display value of each of these variables. So first name equals, and then I'm going to go ahead and display the value of first name. So what is this happening? So anything that you write inside of this single quotes inside of system.debug will be printed as it is. For example, if I'm saying system.debug hello, so this will print as it is on the screen. Now what I'm doing is I am saying after this, this is called concatenation, and then saying this is without the single quotes, right? There's no single quotes, so it will go ahead and fetch the value of this variable, which is from here. Okay, so instead of first name, it will display Deepika. Let's go ahead and look at the output of the program. So this first name would be nothing. This first name will be replaced by this Deepika here. And this will get displayed on the screen as it is, and hello will also get displayed on the screen as it is because this is written inside quotes. So string is written inside of quotes. What is a string? A value that is written inside of single quotes makes it a string. That is what a string is. Let's go ahead and debug. So in order to debug, what you have to do is you click on this open log checkbox and then hit the execute button. And then what will happen is it'll open up this anonymous window. Okay, and bunch of stuff is going on. Okay, there's debug hello, I don't know how many lines. Right now we're only interested in the debug section. So just click on this debug only checkbox and it will only talk about the lines that I'm interested in. And if you look at here, it also gives you the line number. So line number 5 got printed hello as it is. Whatever you wrote here in the system.debug got printed as this. And then number 6, another debug statement is also available, and it says first name equals to. Okay, there's an equals to, and then it says Deepika because this got replaced. Let me give some space here. So next time when you execute, there will be a space between first name, and remove the space from here. This looks better. Okay, now if I go ahead and execute, again it will execute the program. Okay, and we'll go to the debug only section, and hello and first name will get printed. So what we have done here is we have learned two things: declaring the variables, how to declare the variables, and how to display the value of these variables. Now let's go ahead and write a couple more debug statements. System.debug, and I'm going to go ahead and display the value of num1. And then I'm also going to go ahead and display the value of num2. Num2 is equals to. And then I'm also going to display the value of num3. Now I haven't provided any value, right? There is no value that I have given to num3. So what's going to happen in that case? Let's check it out. Num3. So all I'm doing is this, whatever in the debug statement, you write a debug system.debug, and then this will get printed as it is on the screen. And then I'm using the plus sign, which plus is very important. Plus is very important. And then you are displaying first name, that is a variable name. This is a variable name. Num1, num2 is a variable name. Num3 is a variable name. All of these are variable names. This is variable name. This is variable name. This is variable. These are variable values. So now let's go ahead and hit the execute button and see what happens. As you can see, let me go ahead and debug, open this anonymous window. So from 5, hello got printed, very good. First name is Deepika, that got printed. Num1 is equals to 100, it's a string. This is a string, okay, that got printed. Then you have is num2, which is also 100, that got printed. Num2, that got printed. And then you have num3 automatically, because we have not provided the value for this variable, automatically it gets a value of null. So these are the different data types that are available. So we have only touched a few of the primitive data types. There's collection. Collection is nothing when you have to store list of something, list of elements, group of elements. In that case, we will use collections. S object is nothing but any object in Salesforce, whether it is a standard object or it is a custom object, is called as a S object. Enums are used to store some set of values, like you want to store seasons of the year, summer, spring, some particular set of values. Then classes, objects, and interfaces are different types of data types. So these are the different types of data that are available. We cannot finish all this in one go, right? It's too much. We can't become a Salesforce developer in one day, right? This is just a small introduction to what Apex programming is. So now let's go ahead and do quick examples. To first, let's say we'll add 3 numbers, and then we'll do another example to calculate the salary after the bonus. Okay, if this is the instructions, how will you add 3 numbers? First thing is, we need to add 3 numbers, right? So first we need a placeholder. We need 3 variables to store those 3 numbers, correct? So let's say we'll call the number as number 1, number 2, number 3, and we'll store the values in those variables. And then we'll also create a 4th variable which will have the sum of all those 3 numbers. How about that? Okay, so let's go ahead and add these 3 numbers. So we'll do a first simple program. And in order to store, I'm going to go ahead and use the data type as integer. First number, number 1, is going to have 100 in it. Then I'm going to store another number, number 2, that will have 20 multiplied by 6, which is basically nothing but 120, right? And then number 3 is going to be equals to have 100 minus of, let's say, 50 plus 10. Okay, I'm making a little complex. So this is what the number 3 is, 100 minus 50 plus 10. So now that makes it as 60. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a 4th variable called result, and that is going to be equals to number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3. That's what I'm giving. Okay, I'm giving an instruction saying add all these 3 numbers, and then all I'm doing is I am displaying the results. System.debug sum of 3 numbers equals to plus result. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so this is a simple example. What I have done is I have created 3 variables. First, number 1, number 2, number 3. These are the names of the variables. And this is the data that it stores. So the number 1 stores 100 in it. Number 2 has 120. 20 multiplied by 6 is equals to nothing but 120. Now what is this I've written? This is called as comments. Comments are nothing but for your own purpose, you write comments. There are 2 ways of writing comments. Comments will be ignored by Salesforce. Either you can write like this, so anything after this will be ignored. Okay, or you can write multiple line comments, which is like this. So anything that you write inside of this will also get commented out, means will be ignored. So this is for your learning purpose. So this part of the program will be ignored. Okay, so I'll leave it as it is. So this becomes 120, this becomes 50 plus 10, this should be 60, right? So 100 plus 120 is equals to 220, 220 plus 60 is 280, right? So this result should be 280. Now let's see if our output matches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit the execute button. This part will be completely ignored. So, even though you have written it, it will be completely ignored because this is a comments. So let's go ahead and hit the execute. Go to debug only. Sum of 3 numbers is 280. We were right. 100 plus 120 plus 60 became 280. So this is the first program that we have done. Was it difficult? No. You have to think in a simple way. I'm asking you to add 3 numbers. Similarly, you can calculate simple interest. Okay. Simple interest is equals to principal multiplied by rate multiplied by time divided by 100. Very simple. Okay. Now, the next example I want to show is to calculate salary after the bonus. Okay. So let's say you need a variable to store salary, correct? You also need a variable to store the bonus. And bonus can be like 5%, 10%, 15%, correct? Now let's go ahead and we'll create another variable which will calculate the salary after bonus. So we'll need a third variable which will calculate the salary once we have added the bonus into it. Okay. So let's go back to our program here and get rid of all this. So now we're going to go ahead and calculate the salary after the bonus. So first thing is we will create an integer variable to store the salary. Okay, and let's say we initialize the salary to 100,000. And then the next thing is we will also create a decimal variable and we'll call this as bonus. And the bonus is, let's say, 10%. Okay, so that will be 10.0. So this is going to be the bonus percentage. And then we will create another variable which is also will be of the type decimal, and we'll call this as salary after bonus. Now what is going to be the salary after bonus? Salary after bonus would be equals to salary plus salary multiplied by bonus divided by 100. Right? This is what the salary would be. Salary would be salary multiplied by bonus divided by 100. So now let's go ahead and write it the same way. So we're going to go ahead and write it in computer's term. Salary after bonus would be equals to salary plus, that is salary plus, we'll add the salary plus, we'll add these braces, salary multiplied by bonus divided by 100. So this is what the salary would be. Now you have to display, right? We have calculated the salary after the bonus. Now let's go ahead and see what the value should be. System.debug salary after bonus is plus, we will just go ahead and display the value of this variable. That's it. That is going to be the program. So this is a simple program to calculate the salary after the bonus. Now your income is $100,000. Okay. You are getting a bonus of 10%, and then you're going to calculate salary after bonus. This is the way to calculate the salary after bonus. Now let's see if the output matches. So it should be 110,000 because you're getting 10% bonus. So that should give you about 10,000 bonus, and then that should add up to 110,000 should be the output. So let's go ahead and see if the output matches. We'll go to the debug only, and the bonus is correct, 100. So your salary after bonus would be $110,000. Okay. So this is another example we have done. Next steps to become Salesforce developers. So this is just a quick overview of programming that I've given to you now. I hope you loved my teaching style. Let me know your feedback by sending me a message here on the chat if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please send them over there and I'll reply it in the chat as well. Now, what are the next steps? You can't become a Salesforce developer with this training, right? You can't go and sit in an interview. So the next steps is I've created a self-paced course. It's a course which is available on my tutorial rack, and that course is designed for complete beginners, which is with no programming experience, with no knowledge of what programming is, and it takes you from a beginner in programming to an intermediate Salesforce developer where you can go ahead and apply for jobs. Okay, that is how the course is designed. The course contains all the different topics that are related to Salesforce development. And with this self-paced course, you will have the flexibility of taking the course on your free time. So even if you are sitting at office or if you're in a bus, you can take that course as long as you have an internet connection. The cost to enroll in the course is minimum. Okay. If you're taking the same amount of training from Salesforce, they will charge you thousands of dollars. Or if you take hire an instructor from somewhere and he's going to give you live trainings and will finish the course in 1 month, that is also very expensive. So the cost is very, very less to enroll in this. You will need an internet connection. And if you're stuck while writing there, you can always go back and look at the course itself. And you will also get online support. So I will be creating a private Facebook group. So people who will enroll in this self-paced course will get access to that private group. And on that private group, we will have weekly discussions of the problems that you're facing in the course itself. If you feel stuck somewhere, or if you did not understand a particular topic, then we're going to go ahead and discuss that topic in that group. So that is the benefit of taking the self-paced course. What are the topics you're going to cover in the course? The topics are similar to what are required for Platform Developer 1 certification. So you can think like all the topics that you needed to pass that certification are covered in this particular course. Okay. So there are multiple topics. This is just a glimpse of the sections that I've covered, but I've covered a lot more than this. So we will talk about constructors, inheritance, collection. So we'll talk from the very basics of the programming, like what is a variable, to things like governor limits and transactions and TML statements, database methods. All that will be covered in this particular course. So you will literally become a Salesforce developer. This is the only course that you will need in order to become a Salesforce developer. And I will be there for you, for helping you every step of the way. If you're stuck, every weekend, every Sunday, we will meet up and I will help you to resolve your queries. Now, what is included in the course? Course includes 14 hours of video content. Okay, and I will recommend you not to go through that whole content in one day. Go through one section in a week. And after that section, we'll meet up and then we're going to go ahead and discuss. And if you understand any problems, then we'll go ahead and resolve those problems. You will have about 111 lectures. So even if you take 5 lectures a day, you should be able to finish it up probably in 20 days. So go ahead and just take first 5 lectures and try to finish the course in 20 days. Access to the private Facebook group. So I will be creating a Facebook group of the students who will enroll in that self-paced course. There will be weekly discussions. So you'll get access to the private Facebook group. There will be weekly discussions related to the group. And also with this course, you will be able to pass the Platform Developer 1 certification. So you do not need any other course in order to pass your Platform Developer 1 certification. Interview preparation material is also present. So there are some topics in which I have explained you the questions that might come as an interviewer. So I have tried to explain those questions in the course as well. So by end of this course, you will become a Salesforce developer. And I'm here holding your hands every step of the way. In those 20 days, every weekend, we're going to catch up on what the topics you have covered, what kind of issues you are facing, and we're going to go ahead and talk about those in that particular group. So how can I join? I want to enroll in the course. How can I enroll in the course? Click on this link. I've also posted this link in the message box. So if you have problem going to the link, just go ahead and copy this link here. So coupon code is training. Make sure you know the coupon code. It's training. And because you have attended my free training, since you have shown interest in the free training, I am going to give you a $100 discount, which is valid for an unlimited amount of time. It's basically $100 off of this. So you can enroll in this course and you will become a part of my Facebook private group. Okay. The only reason you can become a part of this Facebook private group is through this channel. Okay. So if you're enrolled here and you have paid the price, you will get access to my private group where we're gonna meet live and we're gonna discuss your queries and concerns and questions, etc. And enroll in this course. So go ahead and enroll in this particular course, and this course will literally change your career. If you are from a non-IT background, you wanted to switch into IT and you don't know where to start from, Salesforce is in demand these days. There are a lot of demand of Salesforce developers across the nation, across US and India. So this course will be very helpful in becoming a Salesforce developer. This course is especially for people who are currently working as Salesforce administrators, or they know Salesforce out of the box features and they want to become developers, or they wanted to go ahead and get into programming of Salesforce. This is not for students who does not know Salesforce at all, because I have separate courses for that. If you wanted to know the out-of-the-box functionalities, courses like Salesforce Admin Certification, that is a course if you wanted to understand what Salesforce is all about, the out-of-the-box features. But if you want to understand the programming side of the Salesforce, this particular course is the one that is available. So in order to, you can see here, this course has all these topics covered. And also, this is the curriculum of the course, and it goes over about 14 or 15 sections. It talks about different data types. It also contains quizzes. As you can see, there are quizzes as well. It talks about the switch statement, loops, etc. Object-oriented concepts are covered. Collections are covered. S-objects in Salesforce. What are the different SOQL and SOSL queries? DML operations, exceptions are covered very deeply, triggers are covered, then governor limits is covered, Apex transactions are covered, web services is covered, REST method, Apex test classes is covered. Everything is covered in this course. So you do not need any other course or any other material without this one in order for you to become a Salesforce developer. Nobody can stop you from becoming a Salesforce developer. If you, after going through this course, after going through this complete course, if you are stuck at some problem, please let me know. Contact me either through Facebook, either through LinkedIn, contact me through these channels, or send me an email at info@mytutorialrack.com. And let me know which particular lecture you are stuck at. I'll personally help you out. That's the guarantee that I'm going to give it to you. But since this is all I have, I cannot afford to lose. You have to pay $97. I'm giving you $4,000, $5,000 worth of content for just a minimum, just like 10% of the cost. $97. That's it. So you can enroll in the course now, and you will be able to use this coupon code and join my private group, Facebook private group. The moment you join this course, you're going to go ahead and get an invite and apply for that private Facebook group. And I will go ahead and check your credentials, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you in that private group, and you should be able to post your queries, ask your questions in that private group. With that, I want to say thank you so much to attend this training. I really, really enjoyed talking to you. Bye, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you once again.